Okay, YouTube friends, and we're going to start off with another video today. Today is July 6th, 2021, and I'm going to do an inspection on one of my nukages, one of my startups, and I'm just going to take a look at that, see how it's doing. Might do another inspection later, but I'm not sure if I'm going to video that or not. So let me get the camera set so that you can see what I'm doing inside the box. It's kind of repetitive. You've seen me do this before, but hopefully I can explain some stuff as I'm going along, and maybe there'll be something new in it. All right, so let's get the camera set up, see what we got. Now I'm filming off a tripod. So let me get that set up and see what we got here. Now what I'm going to do is bust a little smoke in the entrance. Take this top off. I haven't put my gloves on yet because I gotta use my fingers here. I'll put this over here because that's where I'm going to put my lids. Got some ants in there. If I brought my torch out here today, I would have put my torch on those ants and burned them when they get seated here. Move this out of the way. I'll put that up here. So, hopefully you can hear me. What I got going on here, I'm gonna kill some of these, but I'm gonna put some sometimes it's good to use two hive tools to break free the inner lid. And this here, if you can see it, this is what's called the inner lid. You go up here and just double check, make sure. Yeah. So this here wooden thing, this is an inner lid. These are in-box feeders. They usually put 1-to-1 sugar syrup in those. Sugar syrup. Good for the bees to eat. I'm gonna crack this, slide it down, crack that again. There's another crack. Then I'm gonna crack it again, crack that up. Oh boy, you can listen to the humming in there. Let that down, set that back down for a little bit. 15-20 seconds. And what that's gonna do is, if I have bees up here on the lid, it should drive them back down into the frame. So when I pull this lid off, I'm not gonna have a whole lot of bees on this inner lid. So at this point, it's time for me to put on my gloves. I am not Texas Bee Work. I'm not bullshitting you through this. This is beekeeping, real beekeeping. All right. I'll pull this off and see what we're looking at here. And that, you see, you got a little bit of bees on here. Get some bees on the top up there. So this will go over here on that lid that I just pulled off. Now I'm going to be looking inside, and I want to see, like I've said before in the past, I want to see which side of this do I have the least amount of bees, because I'm going to be pulling out a couple of frames in here to make some space to do this inspection. So what I'm looking at here is it doesn't really make a difference. If I had to, I would say this here frame probably has the least amount of bees on it. I don't want to crush anybody. I can tell you right now that these bees are making honey. We've got blackberries going on right now. Blackberries are in bloom. It just started last week, and so these bees are, if you've ever heard the word feast or famine, or the term feast or famine, it's feast right now for the bees in Western Washington. I'm not a, I know that some people, they don't like the blackberry bushes and cut them down alongside the roads and stuff like that. I'm not a really big proponent of that. These bees got to eat. All right, so that's good. There's a lot less bees on this frame. Then I thought, but they are worked out there and they are starting to clean this frame out. This is an old frame. They're starting to clean it up. They're getting ready to work it. Probably put some honey in there on that. In fact, they already are. I can see in there that there is some pollen. And here they've already started putting pollen in, but there's also nectar in here, if you guys can see that or not. The shiny stuff in the cells. Now, one of the neat things about bees is they're very clean. Like I told you that was an old frame from last year. May have had a little bit of mold on it when I put it in there. But the bees, they don't care about that kind of stuff. If you're starting up a colony and you have a frame with a little bit of mold on there, I wouldn't worry about it. Go ahead and use it as long as the comb is drawn. Bees will get in there and they'll have no problem cleaning that frame up. None whatsoever. They'll get in there, do whatever it is they do with the mold, and make that frame nice and clean. All right, so let's pop another one out of here and give it a little bit of smoke. See what we got, see what we see. Break that. Okay, just looking at this one here. This is a frame of honey already. I can tell you, it's a little heavy. I don't want to crush anybody here. Okay. So what happens is the bees will bring in the nectar. And you see up here we got capped honey up across. This here, when they're finished, this will be a full frame of honey. There's no brood on this frame. There's nothing. But how the bees make honey is they bring in the nectar, and then they sit there and they'll fan that nectar until it dehydrates it out and turns it into honey. And there's another process, but that's just the kind of the basic. Same with this here side. You can see that there's a lot of a lot of all that good shiny stuff in there. That's all nectar. They're working on making that into honey. They've already started capping some of it, and I'll put that over in here. Now people will ask me, hey, are harvesting honey? My answer to that is yes, I do harvest it when I can, but for the most part, right now I'm really just trying to build up my bee yard. And when I do splits, I will take honey out of a strong hive that has a lot of resources, and I might put it into a split or a hive that isn't as strong and don't have a lot of resources in there. So I'll take honey out of one hive and put it into another hive. And you also use honey frames when you're making your splits, just because the new split needs to have some resources. Has to have something to eat, just like me. Okay, I got more honey on this one. And some brood. Okay, so we've gone over this before. I'm trying to do this without crushing anything. So we got honey up in here. This is all capped honey. If you can see this is all the shiny stuff. This is nectar. They're turning that into honey. And in the center here, you might see some white worm-looking things and some dark cap-looking stuff. Okay, this dark cap stuff in here is brood. You can see that it's got the little worms in there. I'm looking for eggs. There's probably some eggs in there, but I'm not really looking hard for eggs right now. I can see the cap brood. So we got the cap brood. We got honey around. This is a really nice frame. The brood, I can see larvae and stuff, so the brood is taking up most of this middle of the frame, which is what bees generally do. Same with this side of the frame here. My hat in the way. I'm on a tripod and I didn't really realize that my head was in the way. I apologize for that. A lot of brood in here. I'm gonna put this one. Oh, and right here we've got burrcomb. I'm not a fan of the burrcomb. It just makes doing inspections a little bit more difficult. So if I see burrcombs or something on the bottom here, I will scrape it off or pull it off, whatever's easiest. On to the next. Again, I'm seeing a lot of honey on this frame here. The one I'm about to pull out. And this is a really heavy frame too. This frame probably weighs close to 10 pounds. You see brood. You see capped honey. We got this burrcomb. I'll pull that off. What I'm also looking for are swarm cells. If I find one in here, I'll show one to you. And a swarm cell basically looks like a peanut, like a peanut. And on this side too, brood and honey in this one. This is ready for another box. they're putting a lot of honey in around the brood. So before I leave out of here today, I will put another box up on this colony. What can happen in a beehive is they get into a situation that's called a honey-bound hive, in which the bees are bringing in so much resources that they fill out the hive and the frames with honey, and they don't give the queen any space to lay eggs. So I'm kind of looking for that at this point as well, and I haven't really seen it yet, but like I've said before, they're definitely putting a lot of honey in on the brood frames. So I wanna get some fresh frames in here and put another box on, give them a little more space to do their stuff. This frame isn't so heavy, so I'm guessing there's probably quite a bit of brood on this frame. And there is some brood. Yeah, there's a lot of brood on it. This frame is almost all brood. You got cap brood. Again, all this dark stuff. Whoop. Yeah, that's never nice. That happens. But you got all this dark stuff here, which is cap brood. And then in here you got some eggs. And yeah, I see eggs in there. And you got larvae that's just starting. So you got cap brood. So the queen has been on this one not very long ago. Oh my gosh, look at down this side here, people. This entire, except for the shiny stuff, like I said, we're getting into a situation where it might be almost honey bound. This is almost a full frame of cap brood. This here is all going to be brand new bees in about maybe a week and a half. All this brown stuff here. So here, put that back in there. Sorry about the sound effects. It happens when you get old. So I give them a little smoke here. And looks like I did crush a bee. There's one over there. Let's get it out of here. Okay. And then you see, if you can see that this here, the little yellow, that's the innards and the stain come out. It happens. This is a plastic frame. Not too bad. I'm looking down into it from my angle right now, and there is quite a bit of capped honey that I can just see right off the top of the frame. So let's pull this out of the way, guys. It's not a heavy frame, so I'm guessing there's probably some brood on there, quite a bit. Okay. So again, we see, and these are actually really nice frames. You got the honey up in the corners and the top. Got a lot of brood in the middle, a little bit of honey, some nectar in the middle. Got some bird comb down here. We're gonna get rid of that. Let's see what it looks like on the other side here. Now, when you're pulling frames, as new beekeepers, you can look at this and you might go, man, that brood pattern, that looks pretty spotty, okay? But you have to be able to look at this and know what you're seeing. Like, yeah, this kind of looks like spotty, but I'm seeing eggs and I'm seeing larvae on almost this entire frame here. And yes, there's some cat brood here, but there's a lot of eggs and there's a lot of larvae in here. The queen might even be on this here frame. So you got to be really careful. I told you I'm not a fan of this here. So we will take that off. And there is some honey in there. I want to try to knock some of these bees back on here. There's some of this bird going up. Take out the bees like that. And they'll stay on that. So I'll carefully put this one back in. This is actually a pretty good colony right now. Take a little bit of a breather break. Let's get right back to it. Now I'm gonna start hitting probably areas more, getting more honey, because what happens when the bees do their honey, the honey usually goes to the outside of the hive, the outsides of the hive. So the honey, you're probably gonna find most of your honey on one side of the hive or the other side of the hive. And I couldn't tell you why they do it that way, but bees are pretty smart, so there must be a reason. This frame is starting to get a little heavier. Again, we got a lot of brood. I'm not seeing any swarm cells. Now, if you see swarm cells, like I said, what's going to happen is generally a lot of the times they'll be at the bottom of a frame or at the middle of a frame. But they'll look like peanuts. And that's the best way I can describe it. If you know, they look like a peanut, and that's what a swarm cell looks like. And if you see something like that, take a look at it, see if it's capped, if there's anything in there. If it's capped, you might still have a chance to destroy it. If you don't destroy it, then you're probably gonna have to find the cell with the or a frame with the queen in there, and make a split by taking the old queen out of the hive, because that's what happens when a colony swarms. Is half the colony takes off with the old queen and leaves a new queen inside the hive. Let's take a look at the other side of this and see what we got. Okay, just by the way, I'm starting to really take a look for the queen. I just have a feeling she's probably either on this frame or the next one that I'm going to pull. This is another pretty good looking colony though. And although I've pulled off enough of the burr comb already, I'm going to leave the burr comb on this frame. You can see it there. I'm going to leave it on there. I'm not going to scrape any more burr comb unless I need to. That burr comb, they're putting little dots of honey and stuff in there. You look there, I just popped that open, and that's a lot of honey right there. That's enough for me to take a taste. That's good. That's some good honey there, man. And yes, I did taste it right through the screen on my bee suit here. These guys need smoke over there. Chase these guys back down the line. Now, believe it or not, you've probably seen this on past videos, but this here colony started off with 2 frames of brood and some shaker bees and a queen that was introduced. And I've mentioned it before, and I'm going to mention it again because I think it's worth talking about. I did an inspection on my other one today, or yesterday. I absolutely think that if you're getting into beekeeping and you're going to be new to beekeeping, maybe you were beekeeping, you're a new beekeeper, and the year before you had a hive and you didn't make it through the winter with that hive, and so you got frames that have honey on there, and you got frames that are drawn. I got this up at Stanwood Bee Company from Tim Welsh. He's the owner of the Stanwood Bee Company. And I was talking to him, and he says, "You know what?" He goes, "I sell queens," and he goes, "and I also sell brood frames with my queens." I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'll sell a frame of brood with the nurse bees on it, and some shakers or whatever." And he goes, and he goes, "That's how I sell my queens, like that." And I told him, I said, "Well, shit, that sounds like I might be able to start up a colony like that." And he says, "I've had people that have done that." And I said, "Well, then I want to experiment with that," and I did. So I believe I got these colonies back in either May or I don't have my records on it, but I believe this colony might have been early May, very early May. That this colony came under the shakers with the other one. I'll check my YouTube video. There's a video on there of me putting putting these colonies together. But anyways, getting back to my greater point, okay? My greater point is that, like, in a new beekeeping situation, what I found out with this is that when I started beekeeping and I did my first inspection, and I had tons of bees in the beehive already, because I got the 4-pound packages and you're pulling stuff out, pulling frames out of there, and you don't know what you're looking at. It's hard to spot the queen. It's just it can be a real daunting thing for a new beekeeper to do. However, I noticed that when I started these colonies out with just the 2 frames of brood and the nurse bees that he gives you along with it, the 2 frames of brood, 2 frames of nurse bees, and the queen, was that the bee population that was in there wasn't a lot. So when I did my first inspections on this, it was easy to see what was happening in this hive. I didn't have a lot of bees coming out at me. I didn't have a lot of bees on the frames. So it was easy to get in there. It was easy to see, okay, brood, eggs, larvae, pollen, nectar. All that stuff was really easy to spot and see starting off. So it's really good. It's a really nice thing when you're starting off beekeeping to be able to, for lack of a better word, be able to relax a little bit on your inspections and be able to take a little time to see what's going on inside these colonies as you're pulling frame. Now you take a look at this now, and this, like I said, I'm going to be putting another box on here. This thing is full. We got a lot of bees, and this colony is just fine. And the thing is another great thing is you don't have to sit back and worry, are my bees going to be swarming or are they not going to be swarming? It's just something, because when you put them into these boxes, that there's so much space that they have to build out to. The swarming aspect of it really isn't there. It's just there's a lot of space in these boxes for these bees to do what they need to do. And so, like I said, I pulled this one apart and I haven't seen any swarm cells on it yet. Fingers crossed, I probably will before the inspection is done. We tried some of that honey, and let me tell you what, it's delicious. Beekeeping benefit right there. I'm gonna need my J hook for this. This might be a heavier frame than I thought. I don't want to roll my queens, but there's quite a bit of honey on this brood. Got more brood in here. I'm gonna take that off. There's just too much for my liking on that. This here, getting brood right there. It's just a way to keep the hive a little cleaner. So it's nothing to really worry about, but I got a lot of honey here. Look how packed out this honey is on the corner. They've really gone on it with that. Probably balled up right there. So let's put this back in there. It's just a beautiful looking hive right now. It really is. Okay. This is a really, I want to say it's kind of a white plant. A little heavier than I thought it was. This here lighter stuff, this lighter stuff, this is brand new cap brood. I did do a little popping on that to see what I had in there. You got the dark, and then you got this lighter stuff. This lighter stuff, don't confuse it for this. This lighter stuff here is cap brood, new. Probably just, and same with on this side here. Like I said, if you pull this stuff apart and you look, you see that this is all honey. All this stuff up here is all capped honey. Okay, this here lighter looking stuff, that's brood. Of course, and there goes a drone right there. I'm still looking for the queen, but I'm looking for her. I'm not too concerned about finding her at this point. Everything in here is good. I've seen eggs in this hive, so, and I've seen brood, a lot of brood, a new brood here and there. This one's a little heavy. Okay. You see all this, they're starting to cap it. This is going to be a full frame of honey here. And even on the other side, full frame of honey on this side. They're capping it, as you can see. So let's put this back. We'll move everything back to the way it was. Some people don't like to use smoke. I'm a big believer in it. Especially for small. Now, if you were running a big operation, you wouldn't worry about smoke because you just got too much other things to do besides worrying about smoke. I know that Tim out at Stanwood Bee Company, when he does his inspections, let's just open up the hive, take a look at what's going on in there, do the splits if if necessary, harvest the queens, and shut it back up. Those big operations like that, you just don't have time to worry about a smoker. You just get yourself a good bee suit, and if you get stung, you get stung, and that's just the way it is. Me, I'm small, very small. I got 7 hives in here, so for me, using a smoker, hey, why not, you know? Now, I like to put the hive back in the same configuration that it was. I really don't see any problems with the way that they're building it out. Sometimes if you see that they're building out, they're not building it out quite right. Maybe you have some frames out toward the end that that aren't being filled out like they should be. You might take those frames and throw them in toward the middle. Like this frame here, like I said, this had a little bit of honey on it. What I'm gonna do with this frame here, this was the one that was on the end. I'm gonna put this one into the middle, give the queen something to lay the eggs on. So this one here, this frame here, doesn't really have anything on it. This is going in the middle. And that was the one, that was the frame that was on this end here. And you'll see me, I'm really pushing these frames in there, but if you look at a frame, you'll see that, I'm going to pull this hang frame up and show you. If you look on these frames, you'll see that there's what they call a B space or a frame spacer. And I'll turn this sideways and get a better look at it. See how that tapers down and then tapers back out again? So sometimes they get wax built up on there, and they're a little hard to get back into the hive. And so you'll see me in there, and you'll see a lot of other beekeepers. They'll be just trying to squish these frames right out to the end on each other. It doesn't hurt anything. The frames have, like I said, they're built with those spacers on there. So. Okay. Now this frame here will be more end frame. And I will carefully go in here. You see, I'm just kind of letting it fall on its own. There's enough weight on there for it to do that. Okay. So now I'll just give it a little push over here. Alright, what's going on here? I don't want to go in. And bang, just like that. We're good to go. So I did have a frame in there that that didn't have didn't have any brood, didn't have really anything on it at all. So I do have another box in the barn, and I got some frame. I got to get that. I got to prepare that and stuff. Get the frames prepared. And so what happens is tomorrow I will come out here and I will put another box of 10 on here. Another box with 10 frames in it, and this hive will let them start building up on that. This is a great thing. Again, like I said, this colony started with only 2 frames of brood and nurse bees, along with a queen, an introduced queen. Now, I will say this, like on these 2 startups that I did here, I did use Italians. I'm not a fan of Italian honeybees. Okay, they are docile, as you can see. I didn't get stung once during this inspection. Italian honeybees, they're great for beginning beekeepers. They are super docile. They would rather just hang out and do what they do than run around and sting you and stuff like that. So if you're gonna get into beekeeping, this is the brand and the breed I would start off with is Italian honeybees. Just until you as you get more and more into it, you'll find out that other more aggressive breeds of bees like Carniolas, Caucasians. I've got a couple hives of ankle biters. They're good bees, better than the Italians. But another thing that the Italian has an advantage of, that, like I said, the Carnies, the ankle biters, and the you can get Russians, Caucasians. They're a little bit more aggressive. They're good honeybees. They overwinter better than Italian honeybees, and really that's the whole thing. Is Italian honeybees, you really have to put a lot of special care into getting them to overwinter. The advantage that they have over the other ones is that Italian honeybees like to really build up their colonies fast. They build up their colonies quick. They build them up fast. And so that's why when I started these nucages, I went with the Italians. No, I could, if I found the queen in there and I wanted to switch this over to and turn this colony into let's say a Carney or a Russian or ankle biter colony. It's real simple. All I got to do is go in this colony, find the queen, get her out of there, pinch her off, and introduce any one of those queens that I just mentioned, a Russian, ankle biter, Carney, Caucasian. Just introduce that into the colony, and eventually that's what that queen will be laying is that particular breed of bees, and that's what this colony would end up being at that point. I'm not going to do that. I'm pretty happy with. I'm really happy with the way this colony has turned out. And it's looking, and it's also nice working with high-tie honeybees as opposed to the other ones. I don't think I got buzzed or once in all of this. I don't want to put that in there. Just leave it on there first. On the lid. Like I said, I'll get the frames prepared today, tonight, tomorrow morning. I got tomorrow off as far as work goes, so I'm good with that. And then I'll add the box to this hive. So there you have it. I know it might be a long video. I'll edit some of it out, but I'm pretty happy with it, and I hope there was something in there that y'all could learn from. Anyways, you guys have a great day. Over and out.